We can dance if we want to. We can leave your friends behind. 'Cause your friends don't dance, and if they don't dance, well, they're no friends of mine. I say, we can go where we want to, a place where they'll never find. And we can act like we come from out of this world, leave the real one far behind. We can dance, don't say. We can go where we want to. The night is young and so am I. And we can dress real neat from our hats to our feet and surprise them with a victory cry. I say, we can act if we want to. If we don't, nobody will. And you can act real rude and totally remove, and I can act like an imbecile. It's the safety dance. It's the safety dance. It's the safety dance. And welcome to another exciting episode of The Unrelenting Alchemist. All spiritual, all the time. Today we're talking about the Nine Gunas, the virtues of liberation in Hindu philosophy. In the vast spiritual landscape of Hindu philosophy, the journey towards liberation, moksha, is not just a path of intellectual understanding or ritual performance. It is a journey of inner purification, personal evolution, and the cultivation of essential virtues. Among the many principles articulated by sages and scriptures, the nine gunas, also called the Nava Gunas, represent 9 core qualities or virtues that form the foundation for true spiritual growth. These gunas serve as both compass and compass point. They guide aspirants on the spiritual path and simultaneously reveal the direction towards divine union. Each of these 9 gunas, Daya, Kshanti, Anasuya, Sauka, Anayasa, Mangala, Akarpanya, Arspa, and Uttama Bhakti, encapsulates a principle of inner refinement. Practice in unison, they gradually dissolve the ego, transcend lower impulses, and help the practitioner align more deeply with the divine order of the universe. This video today is going to explore the meaning, the significance, as well as the transformative power of each guna in the context of Hindu metaphysics and even spiritual psychology. So let's begin with Daya, love and compassion. Daya, often translated as compassion, is a foundational virtue that sustains all others. In Sanskrit, Daya implies both empathy and action, an internal disposition of mercy and external manifestation of kindness towards all beings. According to Hindu philosophy, all living beings possess the same Atman or soul, which is a fragment of the Paramatman, or the Supreme Self. This dual understanding necessitates compassion as a moral and spiritual imperative. To hurt another is to harm oneself. To care for another is to honor the divine within. The Manusmriti says, one should always treat others as one would wish to be treated. Compassion is not just an emotion, but a spiritual realization of interconnectedness. Saints like Ramana Maharshi and Mahatma Gandhi exemplified Daya by extending care to animals, the poor, and even their enemies. In practicing Daya, one opens the heart, dissolves the illusion of separateness, and plants the seeds of Karuna, divine compassion, which ultimately blossoms into universal love. In Kshanti, the forbearance or patience, this refers to the capacity to endure insult, injury, and hardship without retaliation or resentment. In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna emphasizes Kshama, a synonym for Kshanti, as a divine quality that enables the soul to rise above the dualities of pain and pleasure. Kshanti is not passive at all. It's not a resignation. It's a deliberate cultivation of inner equilibrium. It arises from the wisdom that external provocations are impermanent and often karmic. The soul that practices Kshanti is like the ocean that remains unmoved by waves. In a world prone to conflict, misunderstanding, and chaos, Kshanti is the shield that protects one's peace. Patience also fosters spiritual endurance. The yogic path is long, and without patience, the practitioner may abandon their pursuit at the first obstacle. Historically, many sages demonstrated remarkable Kshanti. The story of Prahlada, a young devotee of Vishnu who endured the torments of his father without losing devotion or composure, is a testament to the power of forbearance rooted in divine faith. Anasuya, which is freedom from envy, it literally means that. It means freedom from envy, jealousy, and the tendency to compare oneself with others. The literal breakdown of the word is an without, and asuya, which is envy. In the Puranic tradition, Anasuya is also the name of a great sage wife, famed for her virtue and her selflessness. Envy is considered a toxic emotion in Hindu thought because what it arises from is ignorance of the self. When one identifies with the ego, one constantly measures success, beauty, and worth through external comparisons. And Asuya is cultivated when one realizes that every soul is on its own unique karmic path and timeline. What another possesses is irrelevant to one's spiritual growth. The Yoga Vasista teaches that envy clouds the intellect and destroys viveka, which is discernment. When envy is replaced with joy for others' successes, it purifies the heart and opens one to divine grace. The practice of mudita, sympathetic joy, one of the four Brahmivaras in Buddhism and also valued in Hindu ethics, strengthens anasuya. Sauka, which is purity, is a multifaceted concept that includes physical cleanliness, mental clarity, ethical behavior, and spiritual integrity. It is one of the foundational niyamas or observances in Patanjali's Yoga Sutras and is considered indispensable for yogic and spiritual progress. At the physical level, Saka includes hygiene, clean surroundings, and sattvic pure food. At the mental level, it involves purity of thoughts, intention, and speech. Spiritually, Saka means keeping the inner sanctum of the heart free from hatred, deceit, and lust. The Bhagavad Gita explains that those who are pure in heart naturally incline towards higher truths. The Chandogya Upanishad declares, when the mind becomes pure, then the self shines forth. Without Sauka, one's spiritual insight remains clouded by the impurities of ego and desire. Saints and mystics often stress Sauka as both an inner discipline and an offering to the divine. It aligns the individual's field with cosmic harmony, allowing spiritual energy, Shakti, to flow freely. Anayasa, absence of painful exertion. Anayasa means effortlessness or absence of painful exertions. It is not laziness, but the graceful movement through life without attachment to struggle, ambition, or inner tension. It is a form of detachment that flows from inner trust and surrender to divine will. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna advises Arjuna to perform action without attachment to results. This teaching embodies anayasa, to act with full presence but without craving, anxiety, or fear. Ambition driven by ego often leads to burnout and suffering. Anayasa suggests aligning action with dharma rather than compulsion. Sri Krishna taught that life or spiritual life should be natural and joyful, like a child playing in the presence of their mother. When one overstrives or pushes against life's currents, it creates inner friction. Anayasa teaches flow over force, grace over grind. Mangala is auspiciousness. Mangala is the quality of being auspicious, cheerful, and spiritually uplifting. It denotes a disposition that brings joy, positivity, and good fortune wherever one goes. Such a person becomes a blessing to others by radiating divine grace through their demeanor, their words, and their presence. In Vedic rituals, Mangala is invoked to ensure blessings and success. But more than a ritual term, it is a personal quality. A Mangala person carries no ill will, holds a cheerful countenance, and responds to life's events with optimism as well as serenity. Auspiciousness is linked to inner purity. When one's heart is free of selfish desires and attachments, it becomes a conduit for divine light. A Mangala life is one that inspires and heals. The stories of saints like Mirabai or Sant Tukaram reflect how a joyful spirit can transform even the harshest circumstances into divine blessings. Then we have Arkarpanya, which is generosity and dignity. Arkarpanya combines the virtues of generosity with Atma Gauravam, a sense of inner dignity. The word suggests a noble heart that gives freely without becoming servile, manipulative, or self-deprecating. It is the opposite of Karpanya, which means self-pity or misery smallness. In the Bhagavad Gita 2.7, Arjuna, overcome with despair, says to Krishna, my heart is afflicted with the weakness of Karpanya, miserliness of spirit. Krishna responds by calling him out to act with courage and nobility. Arkarpanya is thus a refusal to collapse into helplessness or petty selfishness. This virtue also emphasizes giving from a place of fullness. True generosity is not just about money or things. It includes time, attention, encouragement, and service. Arkarpanya is best expressed when one uplifts others while preserving their own inner majesty and a sense of purpose. Then we have Arspa, which is absence of clamor or craving. Arspa means freedom or from desire or clamorous craving. Is closely related to Vairagya, which is dispassion, and highlights the cessation of noisy, restless wanting. Sripra is the grasping tendency of the mind that constantly seeks more wealth, more power, more validation, more pleasure. Arsva is the stillness that comes when one realizes that nothing external can fulfill the soul's deepest longings and hunger. In the Katha Upanishad, we see that the path of wisdom is different from the path of pleasure. Arsva is the fruit of that wisdom. It's not born of suppression, but of inner satisfaction and insight into the impermanence of worldly things. Spiritual masters like Adi Sakshachatriya warn that desire, kama, is out of bondage. Only when one becomes arsva can they taste the joy of liberation. In daily life, this virtue encourages simplicity, mindful consumption, and surrender to divine providence. Uttama Bhakti, the devotional service, is the highest form of devotion. It's a love so pure that it seeks nothing in return. It is the crown jewel among the 9 gunas, for it integrates and elevates all the others. In the Bhakti Sutras of Narada, Uttama Bhakti is described as that love which is uninterrupted, unconditional, and directed solely towards the divine. Bhakti in its highest form is not just a plea for miracles or material gains, but a surrender of the self. It is an outpouring of the soul in recognition of the divine's beauty, grace, and mystery. Saints like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Andal, and the Surdas embodied Uttama Bhakti by making God the sole object of their thoughts, actions, and desires. This devotion also manifests as seva, which is selfless service to others. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna proclaims that one who serves others with devotion, seeing the divine in all, is dearest to him. Uttama Bhakti is not just the culmination of spiritual practice, it is also the method and the path. The gunas here serve as a ladder of liberation. The 9 gunas are not isolated qualities, but an integrated framework for spiritual elevation. Each supports and enhances the others. Daya leads to Kshanti, which allows Anasuya to take root. Sauka enables Mangala to radiate. Akrapanya gives strength to Uttama Bhakti. When practiced together, they form a ladder that lifts the soul out of samsara, the cycle of birth and death, and towards moksha. Hindu metaphysics teaches that liberation is not just a post-death phenomenon. It begins in this life through the gradual dissolution of the ego and the reawakening of the divine within. The 9 gunas are like spiritual nutrients. They nourish the soul, they calm the mind, they purify the heart, and they align the individual with cosmic intelligence, which is Rita. In modern life, the practice of these gunas is both radical and necessary. In a world that is driven by envy, impatience, impurity, and clamor, these virtues serve as antidotes. They remind us that peace is not found in possession, power, or position, but in inner transformation and surrender to the eternal self. In conclusion, to embody the 9 gunas is to live a life of divine resonance. It is to shift from being reactive to reflective, from ego-centeredness to soul-centeredness, and from striving to surrender. These virtues are timeless. They apply as much today as they did in the age of the Upanishads. They are not religious dogmas, but universal truths that appeal to the highest instincts of the heart. Every human being is a potential sage, a potential temple of the divine, but that potential remains dormant without deliberate cultivation. The 9 gunas offer a spiritual blueprint for that cultivation. They are not just paths to enlightenment, they are expressions of enlightenment itself. In the final analysis, the 9 gunas are less about becoming someone new and more about remembering who we truly are. Beneath the layers of conditioning, ego, and fear lies the ever-radiant soul, already pure, already free, already divine. Let us then practice Daya when the world hardens us, Kshanti when life tests us, Anasuya when envy tempts us, Sauka when the mind is polluted, Anayasa when stress overwhelms, Mangala when despair looms, Akrapanya when we feel small, Arspa when cravings scream, and Uttama Bhakti when we feel distant from the divine. For in these 9 lights we rediscover the path home. Life in all its emotional complexity is beautiful, sacred, and deeply interconnected. And so, my collective, remember that you are blessed, you are chosen, you are powerful. You walk forward knowing heaven is behind you. Your ancestors and the army of angels are with you. Thank you for joining me in this sacred hour. This has been the Unrelenting Alchemist. Until next time, walk wisely, walk bravely, and when the dark calls, answer not with fear, but with fire and light. Thank you. And if I don't see you, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I love you.